What's up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Automatic Patient Podcast. I'm your host today, Jordan Comstock. With me, a dear friend, Dr. Eric Roman. What is up, brother? How you doing?
What's up, Jay? Dude, I'm ready to get automatic today. Automatic is one of my favorite terms. If everything in my
Yes.
life was automatic, it would probably be a heck of a lot more fun. But here we are. So I'm
Dude,
excited to be with you.
yes, I love automatic. I love AI.
Yep.
Those robots that Elon is making, I'm buying one because I don't want to do dishes anymore.
Bro, in for two. Can we get a buy one, get one 50% off discount? Like, let's
Yeah,
go.
bro. Yeah, I think anything we can automate that is not really impactful for us is a key thing to focus on. Plus,
Well,
I think
Jordan,
my wife will complain
automation.
less, right? Because I don't do the dishes.
Brother, it frees us up to what is uniquely human.
Yeah,
Everybody that's afraid of automation sees the wrong thing, man. Like you and I get it. It's
yeah,
what have you and I been doing for the last 2 weeks? We keep seeing ourselves and engaging in one like connection. We've been hanging
yes.
out. And when we have automation to take care of the menial, trivial tasks, the button pushing over and over again,
Mm,
you and I can be humans. We can hang out, be boys. We can have lunch
yeah,
together. We can meet with groups. Like that's life.
yes.
Automation frees up humanity.
It really does, and I'm a big I love it. I love what's happening with AI. It's helping us. Like the funny thing you said it freezes up. You're absolutely right. We spent what was it a couple weeks ago? I spent time with you. You did a mastermind.
Yep.
One of my favorite things to do and priorities for me is meeting with people in masterminds. I love masterminds. I am a geek about all of them, and I think I'm a part of three of them. Yours
Mhm.
now. I'm committing to that um, publicly, and it's recorded, so you can hold me
It's
accountable.
recorded like One Life System. Dental Collective, game on, bro.
It's like it's game on.
Yeah.
So Eric started a mastermind that we went to at his house a couple weeks ago. Beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood here in Utah. Um, and we spent a lot of time, and it was so impactful for me. I'm really shifting things here from just learning what I learned, collaborating with other people. It was amazing. So
Humans.
humans, yeah. So AI frees and automation and robots and whatever freezes up so we can do more high quality, uh, spend more high quality time with people. So, anyways, I'm super excited to have you on the show today. I love your energy. I love hanging out with you. You were in the office, was it last week?
Yeah.
And after you left, so many of people are like, what was going on in there? The energy was amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's Eric. He's a stud. He's got great energy. So thanks for bringing that energy to the office when you're here.
Hey, I just bring that big Eric energy in
It's
every
so
day.
good.
And it comes with me. Some people think it's drug fueled. Who knows? Like whatever it is, it works. It's my essence. And you know what's fun today is we're just gonna bring it to whatever our conversation is, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So the topic to well, let's do an intro. So I'm sure most people know you. You've done a lot in dentistry. I've known you for some time, but for those people that are listening that maybe first time meeting you, let's walk down your like who you are, what you've done in dentistry, and then we'll go from there.
Oh gosh. Like when I was a kid. No, just kidding. Um, I
I
am
mean, dentistry
technically
has been a part of my life since I was a kid, so I can start that way.
Not mine. Not mine. It wasn't, I'm always gonna be a dentist. It was a good plan. '07, I graduated dental school. My entire life is dental group. I built DSOs from the get-go. I was in partnerships with big DSOs. I built 13 million in revenue in 3 years, lost it all in a regulatory lawsuit. Built another
Wow.
DSO that was this time all mine. Built it to I don't know what we were at when I finally exited in 2019, but we were 100% de novo. And then as I was exiting, we were 30, 35, something like that in revenue. And when I exited, we started doing mergers and acquisitions, all sorts of different stuff. Now, like everybody's happy. I exited because I was destroying my life and living in a place I didn't want to be. And
Yeah.
that I was starting to discover that that as much fun as operating a dental group was, my gift is in like teaching others and in like multiplying my experience by other people. And so I transitioned from that and moved to a place I enjoyed where I could be in the mountains. I could look out my window every day and like have these mountains look back and learn to mountain bike and learn to ski and also refocus my energy on my family who had suffered through my first iteration because they weren't my priority, which was a failure of like soul. And
Yeah.
since then, I've done a lot. I built tiny home projects. I have built
That's right.
5 additional companies in the dental space. Some have worked, some haven't. I spent 2 years as a partner in the DEO, the Dentist Entrepreneur Organization, guiding a community of about 3 billion in annual revenue of DSOs. I built for a couple of years pretty much all the content and all the education for that group. I had the greatest pleasure of serving that audience and so and I transitioned away from that about a year ago. And now as I'm looking forward into the future, I like blue ocean opportunities. And I think the biggest blue ocean opportunity, number one is people in the dental industry, we have a stereotype of actually having miserable lives. That's a blue ocean opportunity, how we can enjoy what we're
Yes, it
doing.
is. Yeah.
Second one is that the relationships, the majority of the dentists in the US right now are associates. And
Hmm.
those relationships between associates and who they work for are broken. Turnovers through the roof. Associates are pissed. They're not getting what they want. They're not servicing their 600,000 plus in educational debt. And they're wondering why they did this. And they're trying to get out of it as quickly as possible. And the
Yeah.
people that are employing them are not getting what they want. And so that's another blue ocean opportunity that I really want to spend some time and energy in. It's one of the things I'm doing. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm
Yes.
just a guy. I'm a father of five, just trying to live life without regrets, and to be the
Yeah.
best human that I can be in every sense. And so, Eric Roman summarized in 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, not enough time, but yes, that's you in 3 minutes. Love it, man. Thank you for that. Today, let's talk. Let's talk. Let's crack Eric's brain open and learn about his experiences, primarily with associates and managing patient experience with associates. I think that's a really interesting topic to start with because I've noticed I've had several other friends that have bought practices, and when they bought the practice and were maybe an associate for a little time, or maybe it was before they bought the practice, they were the associate, and then they bought the practice, and then maybe they experienced some patient churn because the original doctor wasn't there. Or whatever it may be. I'm sure there's a million different variations of that story. I've noticed this quite a bit in dentistry. I before we started recording, I told you that my mom was in the office. She's an office manager, and had a very similar experience where the doctor that was the associate for a while is now taking over the practice. And prior to that, they were like trying to manage patient flow together because there's two doctors now in the building, and they had patient churn because one doctor's like, yeah, take this this part of the patient base, and I don't know if they just didn't like the new doctor, or I don't know what it is, but let's talk about that. Patients first, like with associates, how do we manage that in practices?
Do you know what's interesting? So listen, I did this. Like I've hired and trained over 100 dentists in my life. I've trained many more in other programs. I'm probably in the hundreds. I've trained hundreds of clinical directors, right? Like I've trained people to train dentists.
Yeah, sure.
And I will make a case for you right now that I think this circumstance is destroying our industry faster than anything else.
Hmm.
And let's just go to the data. The data says that pretty much everybody's an associate, right? Like, or not everybody, but like half of us.
Yeah.
And associateships don't last. Like, I think that where the data is right now is like 16 months is the average associateship. That
Really?
means, yeah, think about it, bro. So that means half of the dental patients in the United States of America won't see the same dentist in a year and a half.
Hmm. Yeah, that's an issue.
Can't see the same dentist. And what do we know about that transfer? Forget the relational issues with it. What we know relationally is patients are pissed about it. Like,
Yeah, sure.
because we're horrible communicators about it. I think you and I were talking about, I think I said, what I learned in my practices is that when this wasn't being managed right, the first time the patient was finding out they were seeing a different dentist than the one that diagnosed the treatment they were about to have was when they're lying back with their mouth open, leaned back. Then they would be like, who is this yahoo? Like with a ponytail that's like sitting down to do work. I'm like, that was the first time. Can you imagine how you would feel? And we also know that our patients think dental care is very private. It comparatively emotionally to a patient, it's
Yeah.
similar to what to women and gynecologists. It's like a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
personal space.
It
Like,
is.
so don't go in my nether regions, don't go in my mouth, right? Like those are personal spaces for us, you know? And so
It's a great point. Yeah.
super interesting. And now we have this super high turnover that we as an industry don't mitigate well because we're actually by nature poor emotional intelligence, poor communicators as an
Mhm.
industry. Like
Mm.
we just act like, well, we're not going to talk about it and we're going to see if you notice that this dentist is different.
Yeah.
And so is it any wonder right now why our reputation of dentistry as a societally continues to go down, right?
Mm.
Do you know what this does? The turnover, we do you remember the data? Like, what's the average cost of turning over an employee? They say half the annual paycheck, right? A $30,000 employee costs you 15,000 to replace. Is that true with a dentist that makes 150? Does it cost you 75,000? I have instances where I could say that's the case. I have others where maybe not.
Yeah.
No firm. So let's say that this turnover of doctors, which is inevitably happening left and right everywhere because they're all angry,
Yeah.
it's happening. It's costing the practice money. Who pays for that? It comes out of our pockets and it comes out of our profitability and it increases the cost of care.
Yep.
So our failures here, Jordan, are screwing up our reputations and it's increasing the cost of dentistry. And it's the reason that our patients often don't like us. And
Yeah.
yet, what are we societally telling people? We're like, when you don't enjoy dentistry, Dennis, you just hire some associates to help have them take off the load. But we're crappy managers of associates. We do such a horrible job. That's the reason we're turning them over. So it's like this crap cycle, man, where
Yeah, sure.
we're killing ourselves, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that type of churn in any fashion, right? I mean, I manage subscriptions for a lot of practices,
Yes.
right? And churn not only for my own company and for like a membership plan, churn is a huge issue in terms of progress, right? If you can't figure that out from the employee side and the associate side, it really does stall progress.
Well,
Churn
you know what's
is the
funny?
enemy. Yeah.
In dentistry, we don't even use the term churn.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
that's
even a term. I started
what do they
introducing
say?
Dude, I started introducing. So my very first practice, I was getting like 350 new patients a month, like out
Uh-huh.
of 11 chairs. So it was like, oh, look at all the patients coming in. They must love us. And I had people like whispering in my ear, hey, like, well, like, how's your patient retention? I'm like, who cares what my patient retention is? My chairs are full.
I've got
There's
my
more
chairs there full, yeah.
dentistry out here than I could ever want to do.
Sure.
But then eventually, like as we continued growing, we picked up Dental Intel. And now this company that's doing like 1,400 new patients per month
Uh-huh.
is losing patients every month. You're telling me that
On a
with
plateau.
1,400 new patients coming in every month, that I was losing 1,600 and I was net negative 200
Yeah,
patients
you're on a treadmill. Yep.
all churn. And then like when you looked at the cost ratios and everything else, like when it comes to dentistry, like my team and I, Josie Sewell, who I've worked with for years, we've had the intimacy of looking inside the businesses of DSOs everywhere, over $1 billion in DSO businesses.
Mm.
And what we see time and time again, first, DSOs, no matter how big they are regularly on the verge of failure. And the
Jeez.
reason that DSOs fail, that dental groups fail, it is almost always the fundamentals at the base practice unit. As we grow in our practices and we start focusing on our big picture stuff, which is so sexy, like all of our new executive team and organizational growth and all that, what made us good in the first place was really good basics in the practices, and it gets worse and worse and
So
worse.
true. Yeah.
It's churn, dude. It's
Yeah.
this churn. Your front door needs to be wide open. Your
Yep.
back door needs to be shut freaking tight. If you're
Yep.
not measuring them with KPIs every single month, you're there's I'm willing to bet you if you can't tell me the numbers, they're not good. It's
Yeah.
that simple. And it's like easy money. Just don't let your patients leave. Your patients actually don't want to leave. They really don't. Even when they hate your dental thing, patients are very understanding. Hey,
Sure. Yeah.
like Dr. Roman left to pursue greener pastures in Texas. Like, will you still stay with us? We'd like to continue like your trust.
Yeah.
Patients are
Just
like
tell them the story. Yeah.
95% of the time, they're like, sure. Like, hey, I know I'm new to you, but I'm an awesome dentist. Will you give me
Yeah.
the opportunity to earn your trust the same way that Dr. Smith had your trust? Patients are like, oh, that's really sweet. Nobody said anything like that to me. Sure. I never had a patient say no. I never had somebody
Sure.
say, hell no.
Yeah.
Never, never once.
Well,
So anyway,
no,
uh,
that's awesome.
churn and
There's
burn, baby.
then there's two layers of churn, right? It's how I look at it as a CEO. There's customer or patient churn, depending on what type of business you're running.
Yep.
And then there is, or client churn. And then there's employee team churn, right? Which is, if you really boil it down, a business needs to attract enough customers and retain them, and they need to attract enough employees and retain them to deliver the products and services that they offer, right? So you got two components of churn, and you're saying that the associates churn out about on an average about 16 months. I can see a big problem with
Like
that.
90 some percent don't
Yeah.
last more than 16 months in their role.
Jeez.
Wow. Yep.
So I would
And,
imagine
and
that
both are
impacts.
expensive churns. Customer churn
Yep.
and team churn, like they're both ridiculously
Well,
expensive.
yeah, and this clinical, maybe this associate was a great clinician, right? And I was like, we got to go find another great clinician, and I would imagine that's has its nuances to try and find quality there.
And it's a crapshoot, bro. Like tell me the dentist that walked in, tell me the dentist you've interviewed that walked in and said, hey, I'm really just a average to slightly below average clinician. My margins are typically on a basis of 150 microns. Like I have a pretty substantial number of my restorations that fail.
Yeah.
Like no, said no
Nobody
dentist,
does that. Yeah.
no,
I have
no
the same problem hiring
quality
salespeople, and yeah,
quality's my middle name, Jordan. Like, do you not understand? Which is exactly, oh, okay, here's a top secret. Eric Roman, like having hired triple digits, I will tell you, anytime a dentist focuses their conversation with you during interviews primarily on how good a dentist they are, that means they're usually not.
there's a red flag. Yeah, that's the red flag.
It's red flag numero uno for me. If it's like, but I really want to talk about how good a clinician I am, I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
oh, you stepped on my tripwire, buttercup. Like, that's not, so.
Yeah, something about being humble, hungry, and smart. One of those is missing when they say that. Yeah.
Great point. Yeah, and how many dentists do we actually encounter that are humble? And I acknowledge this. I love you, dentists. I'm one of you, but
Yeah.
we were trained not to be humble. You're trained in school but that doctor doesn't mean teacher, it means God. You know better than your patients. You're smarter than your team. You're a better human being, which I don't agree with any of those things, but they like part of doctoral training is removing humility from the individual and
Interesting.
increasing the status of who they are. So, dude, no wonder, and no wonder our patients don't like us. It's because we've been in a society that's moving towards like this more egalitarian, equality based view. And we still are holding on to this thing that no, I'm sorry, but did you not see doctor in front of my name? I'm better than you. I'm worth it. So,
Yeah,
ugh.
I've worked with enough doctors that most of them are just homies. And I remember getting into the industry and thinking when I was young, right? I was probably in my well, I started working at my dad's dental lab when I was like 16, pouring models.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember initially thinking like having a fear to talk to a dentist, right? Today, it's like they're my homies, right? It's like we're one and the same. We're running companies. We're trying to figure everything out. Like nothing's perfect. We're just humans,
I want
But
to
I
I want
remember thinking
I want
that
to build that brand, Homie Dental. Can we do that? Like I
homie
like
dental, yeah, yeah, where homies go to get dentistry done.
I love it. I love it. We're in, bro. This is done. You know,
It's not.
it's like there's two industries like inside here. There's like the old school industry of dentistry that is stuck in the ways of yesteryear. And then there's the new school, like your homie status, right? And we
Yeah.
have very different businesses and very different business models and very different attitudes. But I see you. You attract homies, Jordan, because that's who you are.
Is that what I do? I
Yeah.
attract all the homies.
Yeah.
Okay,
You've
cool.
got a
That's
got
great.
a
It's
homie magnet.
my
Yeah.
it's my skill set.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, okay, in regards to patient experience, how can we help practices solve for that with this? We know that associates are churning out, which causes clinical issues and relationship issues, and I'm sure other issues within the staff. Well, that can be relationship issues.
Yeah.
How can we help? What have you seen work with all the practices you've managed and consulted with? What what's a key thing that they could be doing to improve that patient experience with associates?
So let's go back to the like cornerstone issue. How do we stop the churn?
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
let's start with associate churn because I
Okay.
believe that more often than not, associate churn leads to patient churn, right?
Yes,
Now,
sure.
patient churn can be managed. We can talk about strategies for managing patient churn really easily too, totally separate. But
Yeah.
let's look at, and I want to acknowledge like you and Addison Clean had an awesome associate conversation. I love
Yes, it was
Addison so
great.
much. He's
He's a
great on
stud.
this stuff. So
He's a
we'll talk
homie.
about, oh, he's a homie. You're absolutely right, one of our mutual homies. And so let's maybe take a little bit of a different perspective than where that conversation was, because
Sure.
I'm a fan of like systemizing, setting expectations, all that stuff. Those are like basic rules, like for
Yeah.
us. Um, so what I would say, you said patient experience.
Yeah.
What about the associate experience, right?
Sure. Yeah. Let's start
And
there.
the dirty secret I want to call out is that why did we bring on associates? We brought them in, A, because we're trying to make like let's just call it growth, but it means our company's trying to make more money.
Yeah. Yeah. That is
They're a
very true.
profit. They're designed to be a profit source. Now, most of the time, they're not done correctly and they're not a profit source. And with this churn, they're not a profit source, right? Like I have literally dentists reach out to me every week and say, Eric, I can't grow because I can't get this associate thing to work.
Hmm.
And so the question is, what's the associate experience? What is there? And I will make associate turnover super duper simple for you. Associates leave your practice because they can't get what they want out of their life experience by staying in your practice.
Mm.
And let me make it even easier. Reverse engineer that. If your associate can have the life that they expected by working with you, they will typically stay forever. But those are things that
Sure.
have to be managed. When do we ever talk about them? When do we ever talk about like what they're expecting from a quality of life, how they're managing their relationships, investments, how they create a nest egg, like all the different
Yeah.
things. We never talk about that stuff. We don't even talk to them, period. I've researched this across hundreds of associates. The only time we talk to our associates is to tell them they're doing something wrong. That's actually a data point. Like associates will tell you that. And so how good a job have we done of
Mm.
actually catering to their needs? They have been brought in to serve us. We have not hired them to serve them. And we are, because
Not a
that,
win-win. Yeah.
bro, is that not the truth of
Hmm.
how we've been trained to have employees? We treat our employees expendably.
Yep.
You treat your front office expendably. They're there to serve us and make us money. Do I have like if I had a dollar every time a dentist said to me, like, my life would be easy if it just wasn't for my team. That means like they're not like you're expecting to be served. It's not happening. Why do you think they're turning over so much? We treated our associates the exact same way, and we just got the exact same result.
Mm.
You have a ton of turnover. And so, man, like, do you know the other part though that's sad about this?
What is it?
Is associates, they believe that there's the opportunity to live as a career associate. They believe wholeheartedly that if they just get this right, like they would be really content to work 34 hours for you, punch the clock, do great dentistry, and go home. They expected you to deliver on all the things you said you would. Oh, I've got great mentorship for you. I'm going to guide you. But you never talk to them again. We've got all the patients you need, but then you didn't. And then we've got a great team who just all turned over, and now the associates training and hiring the team, right? Like we lied about what associateship is, but we sold the lie to them. They believed it and they still want it. But and then what's going to happen is that, again, I've studied this. Associate tries practice one, they realize, oh no, it's not what I thought. They try practice two and they're like, oh, it's not what I thought. They try practice three and they're like, wait a minute. This is
There's a
the third time I
pattern.
failed at this. And you know what we're doing is that associate, if they were giving a choice of what they were sold for real associateship, they would still take it. But they've decided now, Jordan, I don't think I'm ever going to get everywhere I go. It's always the same failure. I'm
Hmm.
never going to get what I want by being as associate. I thought I could work 34 hours a week, but instead, I guess I'm going to have to go in on 60. I'd rather blame me than blame somebody else. And I guess I'm just going to become a practice owner. I didn't really want to, but I guess I have to. It's such an interesting conundrum.
Yes, it
Oh.
is.
So that's like problem statement
Yeah.
on associate turnover.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I mean, I can even learn from this. As you're talking, I'm like,
Your team.
before, yeah, I mean, I have associates. They're not
Yeah.
clinical. Like
Yeah.
we have developers, we have
Yeah.
salespeople, we have marketing people, right? And what you said there is universal to like my business and other businesses. This is a business problem, no matter the industry it fills, from my perspective. And I've looked at several different industries. We do a lot in dental or in optometry. It seems like there's an associate problem there, in that
Yeah.
space is a really interesting. So this is like a business problem in general, if you think about it, because a lot of the things that you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Because in the past, I remember always thinking, well, yeah, they're here, employees are here to serve the company, which has some truth to it. But the truth is, it's a collaboration, is what you're saying. We need to collaborate and figure out how it can be a win-win for both the employers and the employees, because that's where the real magic happens, is what I am hearing.
And you know what I would say, Jordan? Like, I know this maybe goes against good business wisdom. I put quotes around that. Good traditional business wisdom. I think
Sure.
when we have to put them first, Jordan. We have
Yeah.
to put our team and our employees and our associates, we actually have to put them getting what they want first, in a sense.
Okay.
And we have to trust that if we do that right, we have to have the systems to be able to capture that we win second on that. Otherwise, like, we're
Well,
just
yeah.
where we are.
I
Like,
often
where we
say, I often say that money and success it's a byproduct, right?
are.
It's not when we and I say this a lot too when I'm like presenting at an event or conference or speaking on a podcast, because I talk a lot about money, because
Mhm.
on my product is focused around, helping practices build patient membership programs, our software product. So naturally, I speak a lot about monthly recurring revenue, churn, all the money topics. But
Mhm.
often I find myself pausing in mid course or presentation. I say, I'm going to talk a lot about money, but let me be really clear. Money is a byproduct on the value we produce for people, right?
Yep.
And what essentially you're saying is, hey, maybe we're getting that right with some of our patients, but we're not getting that right with our team members. What value can we produce there? Because money and success is just a byproduct of value. That's how I always think about it.
Do you know we're still like, what is every dentist in America experiencing right now is that it's harder than it's ever been. Most of the dental group leaders I talk to do not have a full complement of employees at this point. And
Sure.
this was a
Mm,
2020 issue. It started in 2020. Like, we had this mass exodus of our most experienced and trained people, and they never came back. And the revolving door is continuing.
yeah.
And I have a belief, and my belief is that whereas prior to that, people kind of like, we were kind of the place you wanted to work. If you had a choice between working at Wendy's and working at the dental practice. The dental practice paid a little better and they were a little bit more prestigious and you didn't have grease on your clothes at the end of the day.
Sure, yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think what
just
came to light is in our generational shift, people realized, wait, now the fast food place pays the same amount on an entry level, right? There, everybody's pay went up during the COVID era.
yeah.
And I'm kind of emotionally abused by patients and my employers. Like McDonald's is actually a really simple and easy place for me to work. Like flipping
Mm,
burgers is
yeah,
like not causing me emotional like strain. And
sure.
working in the dental practice is, so I'm not going to work in the dental practice anymore. And a lot of
Interesting.
our team members, like, let's just call it as it is. We may be great dentists. We're really crappy employers.
Hmm.
That's our associate problem. Whether we were employing a front office or a hygienist or an assistant or a manager, we suck as employers. And we're
Yeah,
paying the piper right now. And the same way with our associates.
yeah, that's interesting. So step one, figure out how to help them get what they want first, because
Yeah.
the byproduct is mutual success, I would
Yes.
imagine.
And step two is like we actually have to put energy towards having those skills for the first time ever.
Yeah,
Being
so
being a
yeah.
good dentist doesn't mean you're a good leader of people. Those two
Yeah,
have to.
we've seen those types. What can a practice owner slash dentist or a multi-location owner or dentist to make sure they get this right? What are some of the tips that you've seen and that are successful with everyone you've spoken to? And even as you were growing your DSOs, like what did you got? How did you solve this?
Well, I'm gonna sound like Addison in talking about what you do at dentist, but clear expectations for
Sure,
every
yeah.
role inside your company. If you don't know the expectations, if you can't write down in one sentence the expectations for the role and the
So
one,
like five roles and
two, or three
responsibilities.
KPIs. Yep. What are
Yeah,
the three things, max three things that
sure.
we measure that determine that you're succeeding in that role? If you can't do it, they don't know it either.
Yeah.
And that's the number one reason I see people leave. And then the number two reason people leave is because we're not actually managing a relationship with them. If you're doing annual reviews, that's why people are leaving. It's because like how much has changed in your life in the last year, Jordan? If that was
I
the
mean,
last time we talked,
that's a long time to speak with your team members
too long.
like
Too long. Too
once
much
a
changes.
year.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at 30 days ago we had tons of changes. Like that's in
Right.
just 30 days. Like
Changes
I
that
can't
could mean
imagine a
your
full
future.
year. Yeah. And
Yep.
I mean, uh we have team meetings once a week. And then we meet with our team uh probably twice a month or even more depending on situations, right?
Yes.
We want to know what's going on. We want to know we can help. We're a team.
Mhm.
Yeah, speaking once a year seems crazy to me. Now, when I was at the dental
But
lab,
it's actually a large portion of the dental industry. I always joke that we did annual
mm.
reviews every 2 years. Like that was my sequence because I hated them. And so here's the thing. If your reviews with your employees aren't happening every 90 days
Yeah,
and
at
aren't
least
a 10 out of 10 on the appreciation that the employee has and the appreciation the company has for the
a
process,
win-win. Yeah,
it's broken.
yeah,
And that's almost what the issue is like. Oh, I hate reviews though. That's the problem. You need a review format that works. You need to come see somebody like me or Josie Sewell and like say, hey, show
yeah,
me a review cycle that works, that's every 90 days. And my rule is this: every 90 days, we call timeout for 30 to 45 minutes of performance review. The employee does most of the work. We both leave without taking on this is an employee's problem, not ours, but we
yeah.
leave on the same page and we're in relationship and we know whether we're going forward or we're not. In addition to that meeting every 90 days, if you're not sitting down and checking in intentionally at least every month, like leader to team member every month, best practice every week, something simple. Hey, Jordan, it's Eric. Can we have 5-10 minutes just to chat? Yeah, sure, Eric. Jordan, where's your head right now? What's going on in your life? You can talk about it.
Yeah,
I just want to know where you are personally, professionally. How can I support you?
yeah,
Hey,
sure.
Jordan, like you got your three key performance indicators.
Yep.
Are you on or are you off?
Yep.
Okay, great. You're on for all three. Is there anything you need me to know or anything I can do to support you better to help you do your job and execute on that? Or
Yeah.
you're off, Jordan. What do you need? You know how to get those numbers back on, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
hmm
need from me? Because you know that that's the most important thing in our company is that if we're not on target, we're not on target, right?
Yeah. I
Quick.
often say to people, you're either compounding for the number that you're assigned to or compounding against the number. It sounds confusing when you first hear it. It's
Yep.
more of a financial term because I'm a geek.
I
But
love it.
you're either compounding for the target you're trying to hit, meaning you're going above and beyond, is
Yep.
what I mean, and you're achieving whatever milestone is set for you, or going above it, right? That's what compounding does. But there's
Or you're in the
also
wrong role.
yeah, or you're in the wrong role. Yeah.
Yep.
If you're in the wrong role or doing the wrong things, then you get negative compounding the opposite way. So you're not going to produce, you're not going to hit your number or your milestone because you're not doing the things that
I
you
want
should be
to pause
doing.
in that right now.
Yeah.
What you
Uh-huh.
just said is if your team members aren't compounding to your success, they're compounding your failure.
Yes.
And
Yes. That's
what you
exactly what
mean by
happens.
that is your bottom line, your profitability as a practice. And so if you if you aren't managing those 1 to 3 key performance indicators with every one of your team members, and it's probably not you, it's probably somebody else
Yeah.
that's having that. But if they're not being managed daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly,
Yep.
you're compounding your failure.
You
You're missing
are.
opportunities. You're losing patients. You're losing doctors. You're losing team. And that's the other thing about this. People are like, oh, well, my team like doesn't want to be. No, 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 no. They absolutely do want this. Now,
Yes.
do our kids
It's
always like it
progress.
when we create
Everyone wants,
discipline and structure? Yeah, right. Our kids
yeah.
complain first, but really it's safety.
Yeah, yeah,
Safety is
sure.
knowing that you're doing your job well, or even knowing that you're not, and you got to do something about it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But everyone wants to progress, and if they don't, if from what I can tell with people, and as long as I've managed people and worked with I have a twin brother who runs all the operations here at Boom Cloud, so he does a lot of these meetings. He's great. I know that when people feel like they're progressing, there's a certain energy that is developed because of that, right? That flows throughout our building here at Boom Cloud. And I would imagine the same effect is true no matter what dental practice you're working with. If there's progress and people are progressing, it breeds more success and positive energy. And it's a good thing. So people, yeah, I think people crave that. Like you said, sometimes
You
they might
nailed it.
sometimes they might not think it's a good, but when they see progression, you get that energy.
So I'm going to take us right back to where we started. Your
Perfect.
question was, Eric, like on the associates, like they're leaving. What are we talking about? And you just hit the nail on the head because the conversation I've interviewed DSO associates that weren't mine for years. And you
hmm
know what? They're like, do you know what I ask them?
What?
What keeps you awake at night? What causes you to
Sure.
sleep? And you know the types of things they say? Jordan, it's like just what you said. Am I missing out on growth by still being in the
Mm.
practice I'm in? Am I
Yeah.
missing out on something better? Because according to Facebook, I am. My friend in Texas is making 450. Like I'm reading about all these
Mm.
people that are winning. I'm struggling to make 175 or 150, and I hate my life every day, and other people aren't. So, like you just said it best,
Progression.
I'm not progressing. This is not where I'm going to progress.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go find something else. And if there's one demographic shift that we know is true, it's that the millennials and beyond, when they're not progressing, they'll find somewhere they can. Even
Yeah.
if they'll make the change and they'll take the risk and they'll take the leap of no income for the hope that it's going to turn.
Look, I'm an older millennial, and that's
Me
exactly what
too.
I
I was the
did,
first
right?
millennial.
I
Yep.
was, no, I was. I'm joking. Um, I work with my dad at a dental lab,
Yep.
and dental labs and dental offices are very similar. There's a lot of similarities in mindsets and how we think and all that stuff, right? And I got to the point where I was not progressing. And I'm like, man, I need to progress. Things just people we work that way as humans. And I don't know if entrepreneurs work a little bit harder that for that. It seems like it in my case. I've like that's all I think about is progressing, progressing. Probably because I have a responsibility now for not only me and my family, but for all my employees and my customers and clients that use our product. Progression is all I think about in all the different areas, right? So I left the dental lab because I didn't feel like I was progressing. And I like just exactly what you said. I took a risk. I did not have a paycheck when I started my company. In fact, I began to have a negative bank balance as I was starting the company, which was super fun. I highly recommend it. Um, and but I felt like I was progressing, and we eventually did at Boom Cloud and took the company without any investors, took it, and now we have an amazing growing company, but it was because I wasn't progressing. What caused me to get out and do something that allowed me to do that. And even today, I think I need to keep progressing and I need to continue progressing because I have other people that are thinking that it's compounding, right? I've got a group of people here at Boom Cloud that want to progress, and it's all on me to make sure that it happens. It's a lot of pressure. It's fun,
Yep.
and it's exciting, but yeah, that is the core of it. People just want to progress, and
Yep.
if they're not, they're just going to churn out. So let's solve for progression.
I couldn't have said it better, brother. Like that is just that's how we live. It's where we are.
Yeah,
I actually it was a value of my DSO as I
I
was
love
building
it.
it that to us what growth meant that if we're not growing in some way, we're dying.
Yeah, it's compounding against everything.
It's it. And like and as an entrepreneur too, like as I've stepped away from that, I've had to redefine sometimes. Sometimes my growth
Sure.
is internal, sometimes my growth is external and financial, sometimes my growth is locations, sometimes my growth is custom.
Yeah.
Like, but what I realized time and time again, if I can't tell the story truthfully, looking in the mirror about how Eric's growing, Eric is not in a good place.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I'm the same. I operate the same way. Dude, I've loved this episode. All
yeah.
right. For those that have been listening and have enjoyed what Eric has to say, Eric, how do people find you? How do they reach out to you? How do they get to you?
That's a great question. Well, I am Dr. Eric J. Roman. You can find me Facebook, Instagram, or at www.drericjroman.com. And in just a few weeks, like the newest version of drericjroman.com will be launching with a lot of the new stuff that I'm doing to help dental groups
Yeah.
grow and support, like actually execute on deliverable strategies to get what they want out of their associates, whether it's direct training for their associates. I'm actually training a group of associates across 6 dental groups right now and having
Mm.
incredible results. Doing it for the DSO in a 6-week boot camp, and getting ready to launch in a few weeks a program for the leaders of dentists to give them all the tools they need to do all those things. So like I'm stepping in, bro. I'm swinging the stick, and we gotta knock this ball out of the park because it's ruining your industry and my industry, Jordan.
Yeah.
And like, so
Yep.
that's where you can find me. Eric at drericjroman.com if you do email. So I'm pretty much all over the place. Come and find me.
We'll
And
make sure that everything's in the show notes. So if you're listening, you
yeah.
can click on it and go directly to Eric's site and learn more about what he's doing. But Eric, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Such a great episode with great energy as expected.
Jordan, I just want to add that I have a lot of love for who you are, and I've just loved the opportunity to get to know you better. And I'm thankful for your story and just how you serve other people outside of our industry too, man. So trust me, bro, the pleasure's mine.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. With that said, we hope you guys have a rocking day.